Hey everyone, welcome to the Wild and Uncut podcast, brought to you by Ruger. I'm your host, Kristy Titus. Thank you for tuning in. The line is going hot, so let's go full send on this episode. In a world where rugged and reliable matters, Ruger stands strong. Celebrating 75 years of American-made craftsmanship, Ruger continues to set the standard for excellence in firearms. From the iconic 1022 to the American rifle and beyond, each firearm embodies precision engineering and our deep-rooted traditions. Join us in honoring a legacy built on strength, innovation, and the American spirit. Hey everybody, thank you for tuning into this episode of the Wild and Uncut podcast. We are here in beautiful Tropic, Utah with a Utah resident and my riding mentor, coach, and all-around great guy, Ty Evans with TS Mules. And Ty, thank you for taking the time to sit down with my audience and with me and obviously answering my phone calls in general. It's a big ask for a lot of people.
No, I love it. You're good. You're a great student, and you're always interested in trying to be better, and that makes it fun.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
Anytime somebody shows up and wants to be better, it's just super motivating. Yeah. Like it gets me pumped. Mm-hmm. I'm ready for it. So, and you're good at that.
I got lots of plans. That's why I got a lot of getting better to do. So just to back it up for a lot of my viewers or listeners who don't know who you are, I listen to your podcast every day. I feel like I know you now, even though I've met you only a few times through your clinics. But go ahead and share with everybody what you do and kind of promote, give them an insight onto your podcast and all the things.
Yeah, this is always the hard question. Like whenever somebody on an airplane asks me what I do, it's kind of hard to answer.
I have that. I can appreciate that.
You know what I mean? Because what do? It's like, well, okay, do I want the short version? The short version, I'm a horse trainer, and that usually ends the conversation. Yeah. Now, if I want a little longer talk, I say, I train mules.
Yes.
And they're like, what's a mule? And that leads to that. Then the real deep stuff is really what I do is help people and mules get along better. Yeah. That's what I do. Yeah. And we do clinics. We're here at Mule Days, Bryce Canyon Mule Days here in Tropic, right? And we're doing a clinic, and there's a sale. There's all kinds of stuff going on, but we got a 3-day clinic, which you're in both classes, and we go through basically a series where we're gonna go through maneuvers like we need to have a handle on these mules. You're gonna go hunt. You're gonna go up on the mountain, and you want to be able to turn and stop and back. And when you load up your elk, you want some control, and overall we want to have a safe experience, right? On those hunts and all the stuff we do with these guys, we want to be safe and have a handle.
That's right.
And like we were talking before we hit play, you've had a lot of really gentle and safe mules.
Oh yeah.
And now you say, I want gentle and safe and handy, which for viewers that are listening maybe don't know what handy means. Think of power steering in your car. Think of good brakes. We want all the things.
Heated seats.
Yeah. We're working on that. That's a little challenging.
I'd like heated seats and air conditioning.
You can get
I had brakes and somewhat steering before, but these new vehicles have some nice stuff in them.
If you ride long enough, you'll get a heated seat.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, literally.
You just gotta hang in there long enough.
Yeah. No, it is so true. So yeah, what you do really is, and I give you credit because you have the patience of a saint. If anything goes wrong, you're just sitting there. Not that it really does. I've never seen anything go wrong in a clinic, but you're that guy that just has that tempered attitude of, all right,
let's do this different, let's figure this out.
Well,
and and you're patient with people. You don't get frustrated. You don't get frustrated with their mules. And so much of what you do is mental. And I've read a few books. So just to give everybody watching too, how we ended up meeting is, Ty does all these things. Andy has an amazing podcast, which y'all should listen to as well if you want, to get some more just great information about mules, about mindset, and just life in general. And it's a great podcast. I listen to it every day. Well, not every day, but you get the drift. But so I, had mules for, the last 42 years of my life, and traveled safely in and out of the backcountry, packed everything. But what's happened is the mules I was riding when I was 15, 16, 17, 18, up until present, are now all passing away.
Yeah.
And they're just not living anymore. I'm having to retire them. And so I bought baby mules because I wanted to raise them. I've raised quite a few of the mules that are now passing, and I decided I wanted more out of my relationship with my mules than just them being gentle to pack elk and deer and all the things. I wanted them to also just be really handy, and that's where I kind of reached out to you, and I bought Cora, which is a remodel mule. She's trained, and we're figuring out our relationship, and you've been really helpful in that. And so what I did was I attended one of your clinics last fall. I did foundations in mulemanship, and then I signed up for your master class in coaching. And so it doesn't matter how long you've owned a mule or a horse, you always have something to learn from everyone. And I might have a way of doing things, but there might be a way that is better. And it doesn't hurt to learn that way. So that's where we kind of met, is you have a lot more experience. How many mules a year do you think you train?
Well, I don't take a lot in
train.
For, I don't take a lot in for training anymore. Like we were talking about, I do clinics. But we have somewhere around 1,000 head of equine come through. Usually about, I'd say maybe 700 head of mules come through the classes. And then, a few hundred head of horses. And we get a few donkeys too. You've seen some donkeys come. And, not nearly as many as the horses and the mules, but we get a few donks too.
Yeah.
So.
And a lot of what you're doing, you say you don't train mules, which you're training a lot in the clinics people.
Yep.
And so talk a little bit about what you see with people with mules and how you try to walk them through their journey.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned a big part of it already. You said that I'm into the mental stuff, and I am. Mulemanship is 90% mental, the rest is in your head.
It's all in your head.
It's so mental. Even though, there's a lot of physical stuff, and you gotta be able to use your rein and use your legs and all these other things, but you gotta be able to think and picture it, because if you don't know what you want, how are you gonna get it done? If you don't know what you want, how are you ever gonna reward the mule for doing it? And that's a huge part of it too, is telling the mule, good job. You tell the mule good job by the release, which means, for the viewers, which means it's just stopping, just leave them alone. And so we start our clinics always, as you know, with sharing a principle of the day. There's all kinds of principles, you've heard a lot of them, but something that I've heard you speak on and that I talk about a ton is Jocko Willink's Extreme Ownership.
Yeah, great book, I read it.
It's a great book, but we talk about that all the time, right? Extreme ownership, which basically means is everything is on me.
Yeah.
It's my fault. And not my fault in like a
negative way.
Like a boo-hoo, poor me. No, hey, it's on me. That's on me. The mule didn't do it. They didn't understand it because I didn't present it in a way that they understood.
Or I didn't prepare the mule for the situation.
Yep, it's always on me. I can make it better. So we share like that with the students where they can come and try to be better and present things in a way that makes sense, makes sense to the mules and helps them out. So that's the biggest thing that we do is presenting things like that to the people.
And a lot of times I think you hear people say, well, I just want to go down the trail and be safe and I don't need a lot out of my mule, but to get to that point actually takes a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of preparation and in setting them up for them to want to do things. And maybe talk a little bit about, you know, preparing your mule and people, you know, preparing themselves for their expectation.
Oh yeah. So, and I like how you use the word prepare, because that's really what we're always doing. You've heard me say old Tom Dorrance and Ray Hunt quote, prepare to position for the transition. Now I know some of your viewers might be like, what did you just say? What did you just mumble? But prepare is the point. So I'm getting them ready for whatever it is we're gonna do. You hunt, you're gonna go in the backcountry. You're gonna go be around these big game animals, and you're gonna be packing out elk and deer and all these things, right? You're gonna be putting your mules in stressful situations where you have to go past a bunch of hikers with llamas.
Oh gosh.
And maybe your viewers may or may not know this, but mules and llamas out on the trail, yeah, we might have an issue.
Yeah.
And you can't blame it on the mule. But so we're going to deal with some stress, right? So we got to prepare.
I had a goat in one of my little clinics, confidence clinics, and the mules went through every obstacle, the bridges, teeter-totters, noodles, but that goat.
They got the goat.
That goat got them pretty good, but it's little things you just never know what you're going to encounter. So what you're trying to do is get
prepare.
them.
Yeah. So okay. Now, how do I get my mule to be able to tolerate and cope with the stress? Well, we're going to ask them questions. You know, in the beginning, some of these questions are very basic. Like you're doing the groundwork class here. These questions are very basic questions. Can I point my rein over here? Can the mule follow my rein around over here? Now, some of them can't. They don't know how. It's stressful to them. So we finally get it done. Another principle, right? Make the right thing easy, wrong thing difficult. They come through for us, and then we leave them alone, and they go, "Whew, man, that was kind of scary." Well, if this little rope and going over here is scary, oh my gosh, when we get out on the trail,
there's going to be boogeymen everywhere.
Oh man,
that are going to get you.
Every stump and every rock and every tree and every shadow. So we want to build our mules' base tolerance, that window of tolerance. That's what the scientists would say, window of tolerance. I want that to go higher and higher and higher. So we do things like that. So we mix the maneuvers, turning, stopping, backing, going, with the mental stuff on the mule of dealing with stress. And that prepares us when you go out. You know, you pack out a lot of big game. Well, the first time, if you don't prepare your animals for that, the first time they see a hide or a head,
terrifying.
It's going to be bad. But like something that you do that's just great is you take your hides and you put that out in your pens for the mules to smell. Smells get them. Mules have an incredible sense of smell, relative to size. Okay. Their olfactory bulb, which is the part that processes and recognizes smell, is bigger than the average dog. Yeah. Respective to size. Yeah. Which means they can smell
really good.
Like they're the ultimate hound dog. Yeah. They can smell really, really good. So so like you putting hides out and stuff like that, and just
well, when Lexi and Lynx were 3 months old, I had the breeder brought them inside, and I had just shot a whitetail deer, and I took the back skins and I put the back skins on their back, and I led them around with back skins on them, and I put them on their neck, and you know, the blood smell was there, the deer smell was there, and I did that as babies, and then when they were yearlings, I did the same thing again, but this time I introduced horns, and then I as later in the year I shot another deer. I did the same thing, only I put a little bit of meat in panniers and put it on their little pack saddles, and just off and on, you know. And then last year as 2-year-olds, when we harvested deer, Lexi and Lynx both, 2 different deer, I walked them each up to the deer and put the leader up over my shoulder and loaded the meat and the horns, and it was like they'd done it a million times, but I had practiced, you know, they had 2 seasons of being prepared, so it wasn't scary for them.
It was such a great experience for you. It was a great hunt, a great pack out. The mules did awesome. It was a great experience, whereas a lot of people that don't prepare, then they get out there, they have big problems, and then now they're getting mad, now they're getting angry.
And they blame the mule.
It's a big problem. It's like, hey, you know, guys, You know, to be blunt, don't be so lazy.
Mm-hmm.
Go prepare. Mm-hmm. Do stuff beforehand. Now, can we mitigate every risk?
No.
No. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah.
That's why we do go hunt.
Sure.
That's why we go ride. People that say they're not into that, like, nah, you like a little bit of risk.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not going to be able to get everything totally perfect, totally done. We're dealing with a living, breathing, thinking animal,
Mm-hmm.
and that's part of life. So we can't have it perfect.
No.
But we can get it good.
Yeah.
You know, and I like the higher standards. So, you know, that's what we do with our students. Is
Yeah, we had a
help
lady
prepare.
yesterday say, you're like, what do you want? She says, I want perfect. And you're like, after a couple of minutes of talking, you're like, you might want to pick a different word. Perfect is hard to achieve. If you're not
Yeah.
perfect as a person, how do you expect your animal to be perfect? And that is a fact.
That's tough. Yeah. Perfect. I'm like, okay, I like your high standards, but those are a little too high.
Those are really high. Those are really high.
Let's back your standards off just a little bit. Can we just say, let's get good?
And that is one thing I think everybody listening or watching should identify is what is their expectation of their animal? You know, what do they want from them? Mm-hmm. Do you want to ride in the arena? Or are you wanting to go down the trail safe? What are you looking for? What is your expectation? And the first time you cross water with mules, having 3 or 4 pack mules behind you in your camp and you're going in on the hunt of a lifetime, that's not the time to find out if your mule's gonna cross water or how they're gonna handle packing. I mean, you wanna make sure that they are ready to do the job the day the job needs to be done.
Oh, man.
And be a good leader, right?
Yeah. What do you want? You've heard me ask that in the clinics many times, in the master class many times. What do you want? Because your goals are going to set you on the path. Mm-hmm. What path do you want? You know, for me, what I do with my mules personally, you know, primarily trail ride, and I pack. I get to hunt a little bit. I was telling you about that before we hit record. I don't get to hunt near as much as I want because
you're a busy guy.
I'm busy.
Your travel schedule's crazier than mine.
In the middle of hunting season is like also the best of clinic season, so that's tough. But yeah, I like to pack and I like to ride and I do a lot of ranch work when I'm home, and that's my life. That's what I do. So everything I do, and pretty much everything I teach in our clinics, is centered around those things.
Sure.
You know, if somebody has different goals, like, well, I want to go show. Okay, well, I don't know anything about showing, so, you know, I can't help out with that a whole lot, and the prep might be a little different than what I'm doing. I don't know. So yeah, you need to know what you want. It's the same thing as if you're going to go out on a hunt, right? We used this analogy in class yesterday. Okay, there's a big difference in preparation. Are you going to go hunt turkey? Are you going to go hunt bear?
Yeah.
Or elk? Okay, we got 3 different species there. Total different prep, different weapons.
Sure.
Different areas, different seasons for sure, right? So, yeah, all that stuff matters.
Yeah, it does.
In the heart of the wilderness, every step counts. No matter where or what you're hunting, OnX Hunt Elite has you covered in the US and Canada with offline capability, land ownership, 3D mapping, and you can even access specialty courses, hunt research tools, and elite-specific features. No matter where you pursue the wild, adventure is assured when you upgrade to Elite for the ultimate hunting experience. There are a lot of Americans that understand the value of hunting, but we all know that right now, national support of hunting is extremely volatile. It seems that with every passing day, our voice is diminished and the court of public opinion is not effectively hearing our side. We need advocates working on our behalf in Washington, D.C. to defend our freedom to hunt. And thankfully, when we need it the most, we have that advocate in Safari Club International. SCI's world headquarters are located in Washington, D.C., just blocks from the United States Capitol, which means that SCI is on the ground with our congressional leaders and federal agencies on our behalf, on behalf of the hunting community. SCI has an active political presence in all 50 states through their extensive chapter network and government affairs staff. If you have ever wondered why you should be a member of SCI, you shouldn't wonder anymore. Join us in the fight to defend hunting. Go to safariclub.org to learn more.
like I was talking to Jeff yesterday, there's so many ways of doing things, and I've done things a way, which is the way my dad taught me. And you know, the majority of what I know about mules and horses is what I've learned from my father or a gal named Bobby Hall in Oregon. I rode with her for a long time and did lessons with her and stuff. But riding and handling mules is a perishable skill.
Yep.
So it's just like with your shooting, like precision shooting, or you know, before you go hunting or whatever, there's conscious competence and there's unconscious competence.
Yeah.
And if you don't train with your firearm a lot, you lose that unconscious competence where your mental checklist to make sure you execute a shot properly, it can get a little rusty.
Yep.
And you'll miss a step or you'll skip a step and be like, oh man, I forgot to check the bubble level on the side of my rifle and my cant was off, whatever. And it's the same thing with mules. Like I hadn't taken a riding lesson since I was probably, oh gosh, I don't even want to say, probably 15 years ago was the last time I took a riding lesson. And when I started riding with you in clinics, it's my rein position was wrong. And like you're talking about, you know, there's feel, there's timing, there's spirit, and there's balance. And all of those things have to work in tandem, just like your firearm, optic, ammo, and shooter, right? Your circle of components, it's different on mules, but it's all the same philosophy. It all translates the same. Your circle of components is often your firearm if your ammunition's not cycling well, or maybe you get your powder charge too hot and you start blowing pocket primers. In rain, you know, if your circle of components on your riding is off, where your timing on your leg and your rein positions and all of that isn't in tandem, you're not going to get what you want out of the mule. It's the same thing if your circle of components is off with a firearm. And I had some real rein position errors that you've kind of helped me notice, and timing errors that I'm not doing right. And it's just all around, you know, you go from riding something, and for me it's just mostly going down the trail, so I'm not asking a lot of my mules, to now I'm back to trying to ask from them. And man, just where you put your feet, where you put your hands, all of these things tell them something.
Yep.
And when you don't know how to talk to them with this nonverbal communication, boy, you can get real frustrated with your mule, and it's actually you.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, and it doesn't take much either to just be a little off.
Yeah.
So just being thoughtful of those things, and again, thinking, and what do you want? What do you want to get done? You know, if I want to ride my mule that way, well, I need to set things up in a way that they understand to go that way.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that you know, they don't know what they don't know. They don't know what's happening. You mentioned all the competency levels. You know, there's also unconscious incompetence.
Yes, I'm familiar. I probably have that.
That's way over here, right? So
Yeah.
a lot of people, they don't even know
That they're,
that it's not coming through nice. They have no idea.
Yeah.
It's not that they're, you know, they have
Bad.
ill intentions or they're trying to be rude. They just don't know.
Yeah.
And so that's what the clinics do, is, hey, think, what do you want?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I want to go over there. Okay, great. Now, you mentioned how you communicate with an animal. Basically, we have 4 ways: seat, leg, rein, and brain. Seat, leg, rein, brain. All right, these are the signals that we can give our animal, right? The most important one is that last one, the brain. And it's not last, it's really first,
Yeah.
you know. But what do you want? And then you set it up in a way that the mule can find it. I want to get along with my mules, and I really want my mules to be successful. So, you know, like we was talking about, getting out on those hunts and packing that game, and getting out on the mountain and scouting, having fun. And well, I want to go out there. I want to have a good time.
Yeah.
But I realize that part of me having a good time is actually my mules having a good time too. It's like going to hang out with your friends. You might have a great old time, but you look around and all your friends are like, "This sucks."
Yeah.
You're like, all of a sudden you're like, "Oh, it's not as fun anymore, is
Yeah.
it?" You know.
Yeah.
So that's how my mules are for me. They're, hey, we're in this together. We're gonna go work cows. I want my mules to enjoy working cows. And a huge part of that is obviously communication.
Yeah.
If I'm not sending the right signals to them, there's going to be confusion. And confusion leads to lacking confidence. When you're confused, your confidence level starts just dropping quickly. It's, you know, there's a million analogies in the hunting world and the shooting world of this happening.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, what was that quote in that book that we just did in the last month, where it was when you lose confidence in your mule's ability to do something and yours. How did that go? I can't remember.
Yeah, I'd have to.
It was a really interesting quote, because once you lose confidence in your animal or in the situation, your mule's gonna know it.
Yes, they know.
They know it.
They know if you know, and they know if you don't know.
That's
and
right.
a big part of that is you being confident. So that's why, I hammer on it with people. What do you want? And then how are you going to do it? Like if I want to ride up through that ravine, through that draw, I want to ride up on that hill, whatever. Okay, I want to do it. And I can do it. This is how I'm going to do it. My mules feel that. If I go, well, I hope I can make it. Well, I think I got to go. I think that's where we should go. I don't know. Pretty soon, the mules start saying, boy, are you even?
Do you even know what's going on?
Like, I think I'm just going to go do my own thing, right?
And they're going to start making their own decisions.
Yes.
And then you're in a fight.
We talk about leadership a lot. And leadership right now is a funny vocabulary word in the world, because a lot of people are mistaking leadership for being the boss.
Yeah.
Or, I'm in charge. No, leadership is somebody that leads those they're leading to something better, something greater, something good. And we should be leaders for our mule, in every way. Yes, we have jobs to do. So for me, if I'm going to go gather some cows out of that pasture, I have a job to do. You need to pack out some elk, pack out your deer, whatever. It's a job to do.
Yeah.
Doesn't have, I just think of how growing up, my dad was really good at making jobs fun. So yeah, we had work to do, but we had fun doing it. And I've been around a lot of great leaders. You've heard me speak of Louis Fields many times.
Oh yeah, and you talk about him in your podcast, almost everyone.
Oh, he was one of my main mentors in this life so far. I miss him so bad.
Yeah.
But that dude, man, he could make us work, and we loved it. Like, talk about major psychology guy. Like, he could just, he made all the things fun.
Yeah.
Well, hey, can't I be a good leader and do that with my mule too? Yeah, mule, I do need, we're gonna ride, and we're gonna ride 30 miles today. It's gonna be work, but they don't have to know it.
Yeah.
It can be a good experience, and they can like it. And I can go for a big ride like that, and the next day come back out, and they want to be caught again. And I've had that. I've had other days that didn't happen. And I look back on the past day, I'm like, I see why you don't want to be caught, mule. Yeah, that wasn't that fun for you, was it? And then you try to be better on the next one. That's what we're trying to do.
Well, my mule, Cora, she's really friendly. And then you'd get the halter, and she's like, oh. And you kind of gave this interesting analogy, and I don't remember if it was in a class or a podcast. I kind of get.
They all come together.
Yeah, where you said when you're spending time with your mule and your halter's in your hand, and you walk out there, it's because you want something from them, and they know it. How often do you go out there to give something to them?
Yeah.
And that is something I try to be really good about, is every day I try to give something to my mules. I catch my mules every day when I'm home.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's 5 degrees or if it's 50 degrees, every day they get caught. And I give them supplements, I brush them, I look over their body, make sure they're good. And that might be all I do with them for the day. I might not do another thing with them, but every day they get caught. Most of the time they stand around tied for 4 to 6 hours because I'm shooting guns or doing something. And I think it's good for them to kind of stand around. And
it's part of your preparing.
Yeah.
That's what hunting is going to be like.
Yep.
We're going to ride over here, and then I'm going to leave you tied, and I'm going to go up over that ridge.
Yeah, and I'll be back in 5 hours.
Yep, that's just life.
Yeah, that's life. And you have to learn to deal with it. And but I go out there, sometimes it's not that I want something from them, it's just that I want to give them time and attention. And I think a lot of people, they go see their mules twice a week or 3 times a week, and they wonder why when they walk out there with a halter, their mule hides from them.
Yep.
They're like, well, I don't get it. I go out there to catch them, and they want nothing to do with me. Well, last time you took them out, you ran them through a mud bog, and it wasn't fun. Like, you kind of gotta balance out those hard times with the good times, I feel like. And like, when they're miserable, obviously, typically you're miserable, and so it's kind of shared misery. So you keep going back for more. Also, you want to try to give your mule a reason to want to go back for more.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of thoughts going through my head with what you just said there, because some of the best connections I've had with mules actually are on some of those worst days.
Harder trips. And
it's interesting because you wouldn't think that would come through with man and mule, but you see it like in, I got a lot of, you know, I'm the generation of all the Iraq and Afghanistan war, so I got so many buddies that went over there, you know. And, you know, I love hearing their stories, and I love when they share insights with me about the hard times and how that brought them and their guys together. And I've had that with mules too.
Yeah.
Like I've been in some, particularly working cows, you put in pretty rough situations, and okay, there's a cow down in that. How did that cow get down in that canyon? I don't even know how she got in there. And now we got to go down there and get her out. And you know, you're getting beat up and you're going through the brush and it's hard. And but you come through it, and your mule comes through it, and you get the cow out, and everything's successful, and life is good. And those are the days that you kind of put the mule away, like, well,
are you gonna hate me tomorrow?
Yeah, I hope you like me tomorrow, because it was sure enough a work day.
Woo, it was a rough day.
And they do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how does that happen? But I think it's how I set things up during the hard times that makes the difference. Yeah. And you know, we talk a ton about pausing. Just pause. Let everything settle. Like, we're not in such a hurry. We don't have to do everything right now. And shoot, same thing with hunting all the time. People like, they finally see something, and they're like, I gotta have it. I gotta have it. And then they get so tunnel vision. It's like, hold on, let's detach here. Yeah. And look at the bigger picture. You see how all those elk are moving down the canyon? Okay, well, we're gonna come right around here.
Get in front of them.
Don't worry about it. You know, just, we can take our time. Yeah. You don't have to chase them. You know, like you said, get in front of them. There's analogies like that we can use with the mules too, where, hey, this isn't, I don't have to do this thing right now. I can take a minute and wait. It'll be fine. Yeah.
It's I refer to it, or a lot of times we talk about it as type 2 fun. Yeah. So what, like, it's like a sheep hunt. Yep. So you know, the first time I put on a 60-pound backpack, and I know that thing was going to be strapped to me for 15 days, I felt like a horse I wanted to buck. I mean, it was just so much weight. My brain was like, this is not natural. Like, it was a weird feeling. And I akined that to, you know, a horse being rode or saddled the first time. And and in that is miserable. You know, you're on day 10, no shower, and it's raining, and everything in your tent is full of condensation, and it sucks. You get crappy food to eat, and, you know, and the mental morale is hard to maintain, but you do. And then afterwards, after you go through that experience, you're like, man, that was so cool.
Yeah, why are those ones so fun, actually?
You're like, that was so cool, I did that.
Or, yeah, when you go on just a basic trip, and I say basic, but just a trip, and it's not that big of a deal, nothing really that exciting, you kind of forget about it a little bit. But that trip you're talking about with all that heartache,
you never forget
hardship,
those trips.
Oh, I had one pack trip in the West Elk Wilderness in Colorado, and my other buddies call it the pack trip from hell. But to me, it was one of the greatest pack trips ever. But it was one thing after another heartache. And you know, the first day packing in, guys are having issues, packs are falling off, and you know, we're with all different kinds of people and all different levels of packing ability. And it was a long haul in. We finally get in there, you know, and make camp, and it's dark. Okay, it's dark by the time we get there. It's a big day. We set up camp in the dark, right? We just got our little headlamps trying to see around. Anyways, we set up camp, and the next day, you know, morning comes, unzip the tent, peek outside, and I realize that I just happened to put my tent up in the previous camper's bathroom.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, you guys dig some holes. There's toilet paper everywhere. Boy. This is the first day.
Oh boy. And then how long did it take you to put up your tent? Like, you don't want to take it down.
Yeah, I'm
but
like,
you might have to.
I'm like, I'm just gonna leave the tent.
It's pretty rough.
That same night, so my father-in-law that same night, he's setting up his tent, and I hear him go, oh, like he makes this crazy noise, and I, what, you all right, Larry? And I go over there, he's like, he had concentrate of fly spray in his pack box. and it busted open.
Oh no.
And it saturated his tent.
Everything.
Concentrate fly spray. And
It smells so bad.
I'm like, Larry, you can't sleep in that. And he's like, well, I don't know what to do. I'm like, dude, you're gonna die in there. Like, this is bad. I'm like, you can't, don't shut the, you need to open the windows and you need to open the doors. And that was just the first night. And it keeps going all week long. The next day, one of the guys that's with us, he decides he wants to ride his mule bareback down to the water, which is not a big deal. This ain't like a big problem.
I would never do that, just for the record.
This ain't
Personally, I am not ever doing that.
That's generally not like a bad thing, but he decides he's going to go ride his mule bareback down to the water. Well, he gets on it and it bucks him off.
Oh no. This is exactly why I prefer a saddle.
he's beat up, like, ow, ow, Well, he's going to go try again. He tries to get on again. This time his mule kicks him in the thigh.
Oh my gosh.
And it was like instant, what do they call it, like hematoma?
Yeah.
Yeah, instantly. It was crazy. We're like, is your bone busted? Because it was so fast how it came onto him. And then he's like, hey, Ty, teach this mule a thing or two. Get it right down there.
You're the expert
You get on ride it bareback. And I'm like, I'm not going to ride your mule bareback. I just watched it buck you off and I watched it kick you. Like, clearly we need some different things. And me just getting on it, riding it bareback. And anyways, it goes on and on and on, this pack trip, and we're riding the next day. We come across the camp, and it is scattered, tore up, gear everywhere, and clearly
somebody
a bear.
had a big, I was thinking somebody had a big wreck.
No, clearly a bear.
Oh.
Shredded, just all kinds of stuff. And there's clothing and everywhere, and we're thinking,
is there people
where's
here?
the person?
Yeah.
Because this is early-ish in the morning. This is about 9 in the morning. We were packed up and headed out, and so, people should be around.
Yeah.
These hikers probably. Anyways, we didn't find anybody. Called into the Forest Service, said, hey, there's a pretty serious bear mess up here. Well, that day, the bear mess day, we call it. Okay, I'm not in charge of this pack trip. I'm going with these guys. Well, he's not exactly sure where we're supposed to be going. Another long day. All day in the saddle. We maybe make a couple wrong turns. And again, it's night is coming on. And so we make camp. And again, headlight stuff. And I'm looking around everywhere where we stopped to camp, and there is fresh bear scat everywhere.
No.
Everywhere.
That's not cool.
Now, so the first night I spent the toilet in the
human
toilet, and now I'm spending the toilet, or spending the night in the bear's toilet, right? I'm just like, there's a lot of bears here.
Tim's shaking his head off camera because if we have trips like that, I think that he'd quit.
Oh, Tim, yeah, it would have been great footage, man. You would have got some serious footage.
That's rough.
And it was just kept going, and the next day, one of the guys we got caught in some bogs, riding through some bogs, and his pack mule fell over. And it was quite the operation to get his pack mule out, And one of my best friends, later in that day, we're riding, and we worked now into some major blowdown that just happened. By the way, there was a storm during the trip too. Okay, that's another little side.
They almost died from the tree falling.
We're in this blowdown trying to, we're like, and we got little hand saws. We're in the wilderness, but we ain't got chainsaws.
No, you can't.
They're big, so we're trying to navigate blowdown. Anyways, my buddy jumps over a log, and he decides that's too big of a jump. So he gets off, and he's leading his mule. And at one point he stops, and he like falls down, and he goes rigid, like rigor mortis rigid. And we're like, Joe, you okay? Like, we're thinking now he's having like a seizure.
Something's horribly wrong.
He's like, no, I just got a really bad cramp. It's got a really bad cramp. Like, Joe, after this whole trip, you can't do that.
Yeah.
This has been too dramatic of a trip for you to lay down and look like you're having a seizure. We're done. This trip's over. It was just like the last thing, But it's funny, because I've been on feels like a million pack trips. But I can remember every day of that pack trip, because it was so...
Like one after
hard.
After
it was hard. It was a hard pack trip, you know, none of those guys want to go back there.
I think I would probably tend to agree with them.
I was like,
it's
man,
probably a good decision to avoid that.
It just happened to be the week, you know,
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah. Jeff's off camera also getting set up for his pack clinic, and he's probably thinking, I am never going packing with Ty either.
Yeah. Oh, Jeff's got,
Thinking about this.
Jeff's been on my podcast. Jeff's got better stories than I do. He's got way better stories.
Before the weekend's out, I might have to wrestle Jeff into a podcast.
Yeah,
also,
you should get Jeff
get
on.
some good stories from him. But
He's got a million miles on pulling pack strings, that's for sure.
well, and that's one thing. You know, as you're saying and you're telling these stories, there's so many things that can, and inevitably at some point things will go wrong. I mean, that's just the nature. I mean, you pray to God nothing does, but you know, being experienced, knowing your animals, and being able to try to foresee a situation that could be bad before it comes bad, and heading it off, you know, that comes with experience and in time. And the more time you spend with your mule, the more time you spend preparing, the better you are at saying, wow, you know what, the lead rope, I was talking to Jeff about this yesterday. You know, I had these lead ropes, and I set them on I use a baling twine for breakaways. And I feel like every fall this year, I'd tie them off, and then my lead rope was like a foot too long, and we'd be going up and down, and that's how you get a leg over them. But if I was inexperienced, number one, I couldn't foresee that could be an issue. But then number two, I'm talking to Jeff, I'm like, I'm gonna have to switch the kind of rope I use on my pack mules. And it's just, you know, even learning something simple as, hey, a little quick equipment change, or how you tie a knot. You know, the knots I use right now, you know, after, you know, you talk with somebody like Jeff, maybe you're going to use a different knot that's easier to undo when things pull tight, or there's all kinds of ways to do things, and the more you prepare, the more you learn. I think that's one thing that's so important when you have livestock and you are going in and out of the backcountry. Boy, if you can learn from somebody else's mistake, and you can take their experience, like, hey man, I had this happen to me and now I do these things, and then you don't have to maybe repeat those mistakes, that's valuable information. And coming to events like this, coming to your clinic, going to pack clinics, going wherever, the more you can learn, the better you're going to be and the better experience you're going to have.
Oh man, always be learning. It doesn't matter what you're into. Riding mules, packing, shooting, hunting. There's a million lessons and a million strategies. I mean, people have been hunting for millennia. Since humans been around, people have been hunting. There's a lot of ways of doing things.
Yeah.
And my way may not be the best way. And I need to be willing to learn and open to learning. Even like for me with the mulemanship, people come from all over the world to take my classes, and I'm delighted and honored for that, and I appreciate that. I go all over the world teaching these things. But guess what? I'm taking classes all the time.
Yeah.
I'm still learning. I'm observing. I got stacks of notebooks of just observations of mules and during the clinics and how things go, and what I want to be better at, what I want to do better at, and I'm always searching.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes life so great. My great-grandpa, he had this deep, gravelly voice, like cowboy voice, right? I was like, I want to have a voice like that someday when I was little. You know, that was so cool. But he had this deep, gravelly voice, and he said, when you think you know everything and you're done learning, it's time to die. It's just so hardcore.
That sounds about accurate, actually.
It was so hardcore.
That's pretty accurate.
And I was like, whoa, you know, but actually, you think about it, you're like, hey, you know, that's kind of true in life. You know, like this life is about learning and being better. You know, for me, mules are a big part of my life, but bigger part of my life is my family, my faith. You know, I'm Christian, and so I'm always trying to be a better dad, be a better husband, be a better child of God. You know, and I'm always learning, and I think we should all be learning all the time.
Well, and our mules are always learning.
Yeah.
Yesterday, Lynx, well, she has like 20 rides on her now, and she wouldn't stand still, and I'm kind of struggling with it. And and you know, you kind of gave this analogy yesterday. A lot of people will say, well, that mule, you know, just needs wet saddle blankets, just needs tired out. Well, that's probably true. She needs a job. She's at that age. She could use a bigger job. However, she also needs to learn how to mentally regulate.
It's right here. Think.
And you were working me through some maneuvers that I could do to to get her to mentally regulate herself to where she learns, okay, it's just better for me just to stand still.
Yep.
And I don't have to go, run her up and down a mountain to get her to do that. And to where I condition her to mentally regulate and be like, you know what? Life's real good if I just stand here.
Yeah.
And that mental, they're learning mentally too. Like, I could go wear her out, but that doesn't do anything for her mind.
Yeah.
That was really important for me yesterday is like, how do we get our mules to do the things that we want them to do without making things miserable on them or us? And learning all of these tools is so important.
Yeah, I used to think, the mule's just doing it because it doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
But now I never think that, because it's not that the mule's doing something because they don't want to do what you want them to do. They don't know. And so when we keep in mind that they're learning, they have to learn this. So like, Lexi didn't want to stand. Yeah. It wasn't that she didn't want to stand. She just thought it'd be better to move.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to see here.
She was totally like, oh, I want to go over there. Oh, look at that.
Yes.
It wasn't she didn't want to stand. She just didn't know that she should. And so we have to acknowledge that, they're learning. They're learning. You got to think of it like that. And if you do that, you'll get along with everything. You'll be all right. Yeah. Give it time. And there's always options. There's always detaching from the situations. And that's what's nice about me in the clinics is, like you and all the rest of the students, you guys are in your own little bubbles, each of you.
Oh, yeah.
You're doing your own little thing.
Oh, yeah, I'm looking down.
And I'm back here, detached perspective. I get to see the whole story.
That goes into the Extreme Leadership book.
Yep, Mulemanship.
Jocko's book talks about, different levels of chain of command. And the higher chain of command has that bigger picture.
Yep.
So they can see things that somebody that's running in one position, maybe you can't see the forest of the trees kind of theory. And that is so true. That is so true. Ty told me yesterday that I have to wean my mules.
Off of you.
Yeah, and Maria sat me down and we were talking in bed last night, and we had separate beds, so we just clear. We're in the same room. That sounded a little weird. So Maria was like, Kristy, you're gonna have to really firm up with those mules and this, and I'm thinking, I feel like I am. Like I'm really trying to be a firm leader, but fair. And even you yesterday, you're like, you have to wean them. And I'm like, boy, my level of leadership, I am not seeing what everybody else is seeing. And that was a big reflection I had yesterday is I feel like I'm being a good leader and I'm not babying them. But at 1,000 foot up there, everybody else is going, wow, you're really babying those mules.
It's just
hard.
It comes back to the I'm firm but fair in what I do. It's just like raising kids. I'm actually not raising kids, I'm raising future adults. They're kids now. Yeah. I need to treat them as such. My girls work, they have chores that they have to do. They don't get paid because part of life is contributing to the family.
That's right.
Okay, well, my 12-year-old's chores is different than the 10-year-old's chores. And it's a lot different than when they were 5. When they were 3. When they're 3, okay, let's clean up your room. Okay, maybe they pick up a third of the toys, and I pick up the rest of them, right? Well, now Ellie's got big jobs. Take care of the mules, feed and water and brushing, all kinds of other household things that she gets to do. And, I need to treat her as that future adult. And it's the same thing with the mule. You're not going to ask him to do anything that's not fair. So, like, I wouldn't expect my 10-year-old to run the family budget.
Yeah. Probably not the smartest thing.
And send her to the grocery store with no, that's not her job. That's unfair to ask that. But she can for sure vacuum.
Yeah, guaranteed.
Guaranteed. You can vacuum the house. Okay, it's a great contribution. Thanks for being a good kid today. And it's the same thing with the mule. You asking the mule to stand still while you mount is not unfair.
No.
This is totally fair. This is easy. This is within your ability level. No problem. Okay.
She's standing there, got her balanced out, and as soon as I pick up my foot, poop, and I was getting so frustrated yesterday. I was like, oh my gosh, because she's intentionally doing it, like, oh, you want to get on, Mom? Ha.
Yeah, well, it's just that she thought you're going together.
Yeah.
she was just taking you along.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go,
Yeah.
Mama.
Yeah.
Come on, let's
Yeah.
go check this out.
Oh, boy.
You say, sorry, child.
Yeah.
We need to stand here.
We gotta.
But you worked it out, and that's the thing is you hung in there with it, and you really let her think and figure it out. And then you were on and off multiple times thereafter the rest of the class.
Well, yeah.
And it was fine.
Because I'm swapping mules. I'm
Yeah.
the only one running around in there like my head's cut off.
But it's good though, you know, that you hung in there, and that's the important part.
Yeah.
Is follow through with it. That detached perspective is so very important when even when you're in the thing. Just hold on, take a step back and look at this. It reminds me when I was a kid hunting with my dad. You know, I spot this buck. That's the one, Dad.
Yeah.
And it's in my scope. I see it. That's the one. He's like, hold on, Ty. Hold on. There's another one. Dad, I see this one. I want the. He's like, hold on a second. There's more up. There's more coming through. Wait. And sure enough, a bigger buck comes through there, and he's trying to pull me off of this little one I got. He's like, no, there's a better one. You know. I was so dialed in on my scope, my gun scope, just focused. Well, he had the big spotting scope and the binoculars. He
has bigger field of view.
Yeah, much bigger. He's seeing all these deer come through this draw, where I'm focused in on the one. And that's how the clinics are. So you get your focus, and I get to see the bigger field. But if we can remember, hold on, step back a second. We're not in this hurry. We don't have to have it now. Let's just hold on, take a step back, and we can see this bigger picture.
Yeah, that was one of the defining kind of mindsets that came out of that book. Extreme Ownership is being able to step back and look at things and also take responsibility. Like if my mule fails, it's because of something I've done. Like, my dad was at my place and I just started riding the girls and I had him in the round pen and he was showing up, he wanted to go ride his mule Ruby. And I said, I'm gonna ride Cora, I gotta swap saddles. He's like, well, just ride Lynx. And I'm like, I haven't prepared her properly. And sure, could I have probably got on her and went out there and rode?
Yep.
Sure, probably. Did I feel like she was prepared for that? No.
Yep.
And I, as the leader, have to say, look, I want to make sure that every experience I have with these mules ends in something positive. And I just wasn't, I didn't feel like she was prepared. So I rode Cora.
Yep.
Because Cora is prepared. Cora, I could get on her, we could go, and she's done it, but it's also on us to make sure that all these things we prepare for, we learn. On people with their mules, there's going to be people. We're here at a mule sale. Let's talk a little bit about acquiring a mule or what to look for in a mule. Or I think, listening to you talk about that, I listened to another one of your podcasts. It was interesting about people being honest with their level of experience, and number one, admitting like, hey, this is my experience level, and that's kind of where it ends. And buying maybe a mule that fits that experience level, but also being willing to learn.
Yeah.
But you talk a little bit about that.
Speaking of the detached perspective.
Yeah.
In this whole world of selling and buying mules, I have the ultimate detached perspective vantage point. I have a pile of friends that are here selling, like at this is
Sure.
On Saturday here at Bryce Canyon Mule Days, there's a sale called Chrome in the Canyon Mule Sale. Great sale. Great friends of mine run the sale, Colby and Cody Gines. I've been friends with them for a long time. And I got piles of pals down here selling mules, right? I got piles of pals buying mules too. I got both sides to see from.
Yeah.
I'll speak of the buying first.
That was a loud one.
That is a loud truck.
That's a loud. They're getting ready, just for all of you guys, they're getting ready to go on trail rides. So part of what we do here is everybody goes out on trail rides in the morning, and Ty's squeezing the podcast in before his clinic, and it's just a busy time, but that's what makes it fun.
Yeah,
so.
It's busy.
Yeah.
This Mule Days is busy. There's lots going on behind us. But anyways, the buying end of things, like you mentioned, as a buyer, you really need to be honest and realistic about your abilities. What are your real abilities? Do you know what to do, how to do it? Do you really know? It happens way too often. Oh yeah, I've been riding for 20 years. Well, there's a big difference in 20 years of experience or 1 year of experience 20 times.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have 1 year of experience 20 times. And that's the problem. When they're not realistic about their abilities, that's when things come up. So a big suggestion I always have to buyers is, hey, really tell the sellers what you're good at, what you can do. Really tell them about your situation in life. Be real, are you just gonna ride on Saturday? Are you just gonna ride once a month?
Are you gonna ride once a quarter?
Are you gonna ride every day?
Yeah.
Because all these things make a big difference in that mule. There's some mules that need to be ridden weekly, let's say, and if you can only ride once a month,
that's not the
it's
mule
just
for you.
not a good fit. You're not a good fit for the mule. People, like you even said it, that's not, that's not a good fit for you, but hey, it's also not a good fit for the mule. I'm always thinking from the mule's perspective too. So we got to be real with all those types of things. If you have physical ailments, and a lot of people do, which mules are a blessing to them, because if you have bad knees, bad hips or something, and you can't hike like you used to, well, that mule's going to take you some great places, and you get to go fish and hunt and go enjoy God's creations. But with that physical ailment comes responsibility. Find the mule that will help you out on that will fit that. Don't buy, the high power walking mule over there. A quick example of that is a lot of people with hip and back and knee problems go, oh, I heard of these gated mules. They're really, really smooth. You are right. They are very smooth. They are the smoothest, usually. But guess what? Gated mules are also high octane, okay? They're, in the business, we say they're hotter. Long story short, they just have more energy.
Yeah.
They're bred that way. They're bred to go fast. So yes, I know it sounds nice to have something that potentially could be really smooth, but if you have all those physical elements,
do you really want to be going fast?
Yeah. Maybe that's not a good pick. Buy the good old quarter horse mule that'll poke down the trail and take care of you and has a good mind. Maybe, right? On the other hand, if you're high octane like this lady here, go.
Geez, I don't know.
Maybe you having that pokey mule is not that fun.
A little boring, yeah.
You kind of want to get somewhere and go do something, right? So there's all that to consider too. On the seller's end of things, the thing that I would love to see the industry do better is step up the standard, which this cell is doing, thanks to Colby and Cody James.
Sure.
Colby and Cody are making the sellers step it up and bring better stuff.
Yeah.
Ride them better, show them better, and I love that because there's a little bit of a stigma out there because of the buyers. The sellers will say, "Well, why should I put all that time into getting this mule handy, like what you're trying to get done? Why should I get them handy if somebody's just gonna buy them and poke around on them?" And to that I say, well, a handy mule is a safe mule. Gentle, safe, handy. I want all three of those things going together. If you have that mule to sell, you're gonna do really well as a seller. You're gonna have a great reputation. And there's some sellers here that have great reputations like that because they achieve all three of those things. So
also, we talked about in class yesterday is a lot of people will buy these really handy mules that are really, really great mules, and they haven't learned how to have good balance and timing, and they can take a really great mule and start making some really bad habits unintentionally.
Sad to say, but a great mule, or I should say a mule is only as great as its rider. So if you may buy that mule that is all those things, it's amazing, right? And then you wonder why in 3-4 months it's not so much anymore. It's not the mule's fault. It's on me. It's on me if I did that because I wasn't keeping up with that mule's learning. I wasn't keeping up with their standards. One thing I've learned being in the mule industry my whole life, with growing up with it and doing this, and I've done all aspects of it, is the mule will rise or fall to your level of experience.
Yeah.
High or low. You might buy this. Well, here's an example of it. The mule I rode yesterday, her name's Tina.
That's your daughter's mule.
Pseudo Tina. It's my daughter's mule.
She's 23.
Yep. And every now and again, I get on Tina like that just to tune things up. My sweet daughter Swayzee, she's my youngest daughter, my redhead daughter. She rides every now and again, but she's not working on stuff. Well, we have to keep Tina up here, because if we don't work on Tina the mule, she's going to fall down to Swayzee's level, and now we're not going to be getting along. I have to keep Tina up here so Swayzee can keep enjoying it and be safe. I have to do that all the time. Whereas somebody with a lot of experience, somebody that's a good trainer, somebody that's a good hand, and like you're doing with your colts, your babies are down here and you're up here, and you're bringing your babies up to this level. And you're also a fantastic student. So you're constantly staying like this, which is perfect.
I'm trying.
That's
trying
perfect.
to be, yeah. I had a mule I bought, and he was supposed to be all these things, older 18, 19-year-old mule, and oh yeah, he's packed, he's done this and that. I took him out last fall, and we shot these 2 deer, and I went to put them on him. He wasn't having it. Was not having it. I actually ended up putting him on Cora, the deer on Cora. My little baby mules, I could pack this deer on him, on the baby mules, and on Cora. And this one's supposed to be broke, wasn't having it. And then he also ran away. He wasn't herd bound, so if he got loose, he was a flight risk.
Bye.
So then, like, my cameraman, my other cameraman was riding him, and I'm like, hobble him tight, like make sure those hobbles don't fall off his feet, because I had him fall off one time. I didn't get him tight enough, and he was taking the rest of my mules for a walk. And so I just decided, he's a great mule. He was a dude mule, super handy. You could ride him in cows. You could side pass him up to a gate. You didn't have to get off of him. He was gentle, gentle, gentle. Great mule. But as for me, like, do I want to own this mule for the next 10 years? I can't pack meat on him. And he runs away with my herd. If he gets loose, you know what? I don't need 10 years of this. And it's okay for me to say, all right, I bought this mule. He's not the right fit. He's a great mule for somebody else.
Yeah.
It wasn't the fit for me, so I sold him. And I think that's also, when you're a seller, you have to be hopefully honest, like, hey, this is a good mule. These are its holes. This is why it doesn't work for me. And the people that bought him, they don't hunt.
Yeah.
They just want to go plod down the trail, and he's going to be great.
That's all right.
And that's okay.
Yeah,
and
that's
I told him he will run away. So do not let him get loose, because he's not herd bound.
There's a lot of emotion that goes into this, which is good and bad.
Yeah.
It's good because they're an animal. This is a living creature. This is alive. Like, you're not just buying a four-wheeler.
Sure.
You're just buying a tractor. This is alive, right? So the emotion should be in there too. But sometimes we get so emotional that, like, oh,
we have to keep them.
I can't sell it. I can't let. Well, hold on. Just as like we already said, sometimes the mule's not a good fit for you, but sometimes you're not a good fit for the mule.
That's right.
And we need to recognize that, because, just like your story right there, yeah, somebody that doesn't hunt, that's never going to pack game.
Yeah.
Awesome.
They're going to love him.
Go. Just enjoy your trail rides. That's fine. That's a great calling in life for that mule and for those people. But you need them to be able to pack game. So that's part of your deal, which also goes to you're raising your own.
That's right.
You're building your own program here. You got your own things going, which is that's my way of doing it too. I make my own. So.
Well, you have a good relationship. You know every experience they've had. And like, if I had to sell my mules right now, I would say their biggest problem is they're mean to other mules and they kick them. Like, they're ornery, and I have to figure out how to work through that. Like, you and I talked a little bit about that, and I'm gonna get with you a little bit. I want you to see maybe at some point this weekend what they're kind of doing, and kind of help me overcome that, because that is their issue. Have they had other issues? Well, no, they're babies. They're just coming up, right? And I'm trying to set them up and prepare them so that we don't have bad experiences, or if things do go wrong, that they're chill and they have the mental ability to self-regulate and think through a situation and not get themselves hurt, or not get the other mules hurt, or not get me hurt. Like, I want to build that foundation. And you started out your clinic, I don't know which one, but yesterday, you said, does anybody know what a foundation is? And so what I'm doing with the babies is starting from the beginning, and building what I want them to be. Not everybody wants to put the time in for that. I mean, my mules are 3 this year, and I got them when they were 3 months old. I bought them off the mare. Every day I was not on the road or working, I was out there with those babies, and I've put so much time into them. Not everybody can do that. You got 3 years before you can even put a saddle on their back and really ride them, and then 6 years before they're really ready to work,
It's a big investment of time.
It's a huge investment of time. And
but if you know what you want, you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
You want to be a good shooter? Guess what? Put in the time. You're going to have to send some bullets down the range. You're going to have to be out there. If you want to be good at anything in life, you're going to have to put the time in.
That's right.
And what I've learned is, you know what? The time is going to pass anyways. I might as well be working towards my goals.
Yeah, you don't want to have a 23-year-old mule that's never had a halter on.
Exactly.
That was a great story. Well, time just went by really fast.
Yeah. Do you want me to tell that for your
You should
people?
tell the story. It's
Okay,
pretty funny.
so back when I was training for the public, this is a long time ago. This is like 15 years ago now. I used to always get really nervous when people would pull into my place and say, "Where's the round pen? I need to back up to the round pen to unload." You know, they'd pull in there and they'd start backing up the round pen. I'm like, oh, great. What are they unloading, right? Because if they're backing up to the round pen, that means, okay, we got something that's hard to catch, something that's maybe dangerous, whatever, right? There's a million reasons. So he backs up, and I'm sitting on the rail, and he opens the gate and loads this mule. The mule just jumps out nicely, and it walks over right to me on the fence. And it's like it's a sweetheart. I'm petting on it, and it's just like, you know, I'm scratching his ears, you know, it's all happy. I'm like, okay, what's the deal with this? And I go in there, and it comes right up to me, and I'm petting all over it. I'm like, how come you didn't, you know, halter it to bring it over? He's like, oh, I've never had a halter on it. You know, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm about to put one on because it's
Why
like,
not?
It's like right here, like, hand me my halter, put it on. And I actually did. I really did. So now I had a halter on it. You know?
You're like, it's been haltered.
Now it's been haltered. Congratulations, right? And I'm like, so I'm talking to him. I'm trying to put this together because it's such a gentle mule. And I'm like, so how old is the mule? He's like, 23. And I'm like, excuse me? 23? I'm like, did you? He's 2 or 3, or? He said, no, 23. I thought he said 2 or 3.
Yeah.
23. I'm like, are you kidding me? And I'm like, okay, well, what's the story, right? Because I'm thinking maybe he just picked it up, maybe he just got it. And I'm thinking, because I now have a halter on it, probably that, well, he probably bought it, and it is gentle, it is halter, it's broke, whatever, right? No. He said, no, I raised this mule. It's 23 years old. I'm like, okay, sir, why have you not haltered this thing?
Yeah.
You know, and he's like, Ty, you just won't believe how fast time flies. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing in life? Are you like some Navy SEAL guy? Are you like, what do you do in life that time passes by so fast? Like, that's 23 years and you raised it. But sure enough, 23 years old, never been haltered. It was a sweetheart, and he had rubbed all over it, pet it. It was a dog.
It was
a
gentle
dog of a mule, yeah. Very, very, very gentle. Thank goodness. And
Did you ride him?
oh yeah, I started it. And the interesting thing, this is when we talk about building the mental part. We didn't get into this yesterday, so this is for you now.
Okay.
The mental part. People talk about, oh yeah, the mule's not really good until they're 8 or 10. You'll hear that. And people come to the cell like, I want something 8, 9, 10 years old. That's what you're going to see the bulk of the ages here at this cell,
Sure.
right? Because they think that's when mules get good. Well, they only get good at 8 to 10 because of the investment of time. They put in the time, and they get good. They start really coming through at 8 years old if they're consistently ridden. Well, this mule, 23 years old, never been ridden, okay? Its mental capacity was just like a 3, 4-year-old mule.
So same as like what I'm riding now.
Exactly.
Very
the
short.
same mental capacity.
Yeah.
It rode just like a young colt. You'd think, well, geez, it ought to be different because it's older. No, you have no clue that it was 23. It acted just like a colt. So it's kind of like Chris Ledoux song, it ain't the years, it's the miles. Mm-hmm. It's like that with the mules too. It's not the years, it's the miles. Mm-hmm. It's the investment of time you put into them. Mm-hmm. I've had 5-year-old mules that ride better than a 15-year-old mule.
Yeah.
Because of the investment of time.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my wife's on one this week. She's riding her mule, Spade. He's 5, and he rides better than some of my older mules because she's put a lot of time into him. Mm-hmm. So,
I think that's one thing that's so important is I always tell you my favorite word with my mule is partnership, because I want to have a partnership, and building that relationship with your mule is so important because they learn to trust you. They learn that, you know, you're going to set them up for a situation they're going to be successful in, and that takes time.
Yes.
And, you know, if you're going to own a mule and you want to do this, you have to be willing to, you should hopefully be willing to put in the time for them, because that's fair for them.
Yeah.
You know, it's not fair otherwise for them.
Yeah. It's just anything else in life, you know. You and I, both into physical fitness. You too? You got your 4 miles in?
I was a slacker this morning.
Yeah. But, you know, you're only going to get out of what you put into it.
That's right.
Like, I promise, just doing nothing, you are not going to be fit.
Yeah.
You're not going to be fit. You want to go hunt? You're planning on, you guys got this elk hunt this fall? Guess what? You need to be fit for it. You better be ready, because that elk's going to end up in the biggest hole someplace, and you're going to have to go out there and drag it out and hopefully get your pack mules to it, right? And I'm sure you have a lot of listeners that don't have mules, and they're putting it on their back and packing out, right? You got to be fit. You're only going to be fit if you put time into it.
Yeah.
That's it. So there's so many analogies in life, but that's the same thing with the mules. You get out of them what you're going to put into them, and you know, like you really want that partnership. It's just like any other partnership or relationship in life too. You know, I talk about being a better husband for my wife. It takes work. I gotta put in the time. You know, I gotta put in the time, put in the effort. You know, so yeah, same thing with mules.
Yeah, it all takes time and it all takes effort, and you know, being realistic with what you're willing to do, what you want to do, and then also some of it's overcoming some fear and building your own confidence. Like I was telling you, for the last 20 years, I've had these mules that I feel safe with, and I had no issue. You know, I did some pack trips by myself, you know, with my last herd of mules, and I remember I had some mani packs on my old mule, and I got my load. This was my first time doing it by myself, and I had my loads too high, and they weren't settled down quite high enough, and I rolled my pack saddle. And learning curve, and my old mule ran down the hill, and he stopped and he looked at me with one pack still on and the other one on the ground, and he just stood there like, all right, lady. And I remember thinking, okay, if I just leave these here right now, I can call my dad, and next weekend we can come back in and pick up these packs. Or I can suck it up, figure out my mess, and make it right. And I did that, and it was one of the hardest things, but my mules were good. My mules were good, and geez, I remember I jumped a creek and I dropped salt because I had decker hooks on. I mean, I have several little things. I was by myself where I'm like, yeah, I made these mistakes, and it was hard, but my mules were good. And they offered me the opportunity to learn on my own without my dad, you know, because my dad was now not there, but my mules, they knew the job, and they were forgiving for me. And now I have all these young mules, and even my mule Cora, you know, I don't want to go ride her by myself. I don't have confidence in her, and so now I'm having to learn, you know, from the perspective before I was like, oh, just, you know, go out there and do it. It's no big deal. It is a big deal if you don't have that partnership. And you have to, for me, in order for me to feel comfortable and independent, I have to build that partnership, that relationship, and right now I'm doing that in this arena. And with my dad or with other people riding together, so that I have that partnership. If I want to go out on my own, I can do it. But that for me will take time, because it's very dangerous. There's a lot that can go wrong, and when it does, I want to know, hey, my mules are prepared, and they're going to handle it with me, and they're going to be forgiving to my mistakes. You know, first time I did a top pack I top packed a tent, and the first trip I took a cameraman without my dad, and everything's my responsibility at this point. Like the hunt, the packing, the whole deal. Like Tim knows, they show up with their gear and we load it, right? And it's all on me. Like the picket lines, the food, where we're camping, the whole deal, it's on me. And I had a tent, is a 20-pound tent. I don't like to top pack too much weight, but I put the tent on top and I threw a walker hitch over it, and I thought, well, that's enough to hold it. Well, the tent slid just a little bit. Well, then pretty soon I roll my pack saddle and I look back, and my big old mule Otis is going down the drainage. The saddle is completely sideways, and he's just balancing the weight. Like he's just, all right, Mom, I'm gonna give her for you. We're going, and I'm suffering over here. But luckily I look back a lot,
Yep.
And I stopped, and I'm like, man, you idiot, Kristy. Like that little bit of weight on top, you know. But it's a learning curve, right? But my mule was prepared for years. He was gentle, and he took it in stride and was forgiving to me for my mistake. And I was able to stop and undo everything, and then I tied that tent so it wouldn't slide around, you know. But all of it's like a learning curve, and
get experience. You got to just
great experience.
You got to keep getting those experiences. And what's the saying? You know, experience is that thing that comes along right after you really needed it.
Yeah, yeah. Like now I know, okay, these things, but it's also there's so many little things that someone that's experienced can show you, which is why, like, later today I'm gonna do Jeff's pack clinic, because he's packed professionally. And you know, I don't pack, I've never packed professionally. I pack, you know, whatever times a year I go hunting and go, you know, camping or whatever, but I'm not a professional at it. I'm a very amateur at it. I managed to pull it off because I have good mules, and hoping to have another generation of great mules, even better mules than I've ever owned, hopefully, you know, because of your guidance and
You'll get it.
You know, this next generation is hopefully going to be the best years ever. Because I got to think about it. I'm in my 40s, and I'm going to be riding these mules maybe into my 70s.
Yeah, easy.
Yeah.
Easy, no problem. Yeah, with all the ways we can take care of them now, and the animal husbandry knowledge that we have. Again, back to knowledge, right? I mean, we know so many more things now than we ever have, and yeah, easily into your 70s, no problem.
Well, I know you're busy. We got a lot going on here today, and Jeff's setting up his clinic, and we're going to be rolling on that in a minute. But
It's gonna be fun.
Is there anything, I know at your podcast, we're going to take a note from Ty here. In your podcast, you always finish it with giving somebody life advice or mulemanship advice or any advice. Do you want to give everybody out there watching or listening a little bit of advice for you?
Have the best day ever, every day.
Every day.
And that's a saying that, as you know, we always have people, you know, you've heard it a bunch. I come out there, what day is it? And you all yell, best day ever. And, you know, it kind of, sometimes maybe it might not literally be the best day ever. But that's my attitude, though, that it is. This is the best day. And I joke that people think I'm saying the best day. It's just because of my speech impediment. I'm saying the blessed day ever. This is the blessed day ever. You know?
Interesting.
It's so great to be here and to have another day here to enjoy. I mean, like, we're here at Tropic, Utah. This is cool country. This is crazy canyon country, right? Bryce Canyon. This is awesome, right? And it's just a blessing to be here. And it's a blessing to work with mules, work with great people like you guys. You know, this is awesome. We
were out there in the rain yesterday, a raincoat on, and I thought, I don't care what the weather's doing. I'm here to ride and learn, and and I was warm. I wasn't cold. I got good gear.
You do have good
gear. And I can go
else?
out there and get the job done just like I would on a hunt. I'm here to accomplish something, and I was really grateful that I didn't get like a phone call like, oh, we're canceling today's class because it's raining. I would have been miffed. Like, oh no, we're not. We're doing the class.
Yeah, we just keep on going. But yeah, that's my advice is to all your listeners out there. And you got a great following, and I know you have a great culture of people following you. And yeah, have the best day ever.
Yeah, best blessed day. And people can follow you online. You have TS Mules on Instagram and then Facebook, and you also have Ty Evans, a separate page as well.
Yeah, they're Facebook groups. You know, people can join in. It's our little community of people that want to get some mule advice and knowledge and that kind of stuff. But yeah, pretty much if you look up TS Mules or Ty Evans, it'll pull up our stuff. And same thing on the podcast. Just type in Ty Evans, and it'll pull me right up there. So.
And if y'all have mules or horses. Go on Ty's website, find a clinic near you. He travels all over the country, and it will be time well spent with your mule and with yourself. He'll teach you a lot about yourself that will help you build a good partnership with your mule. And then also, he's got a master class that runs July to July on your master class.
Yeah, the next one starts in July. July 2025.
So you guys can register for a master class and follow. He's got a 42-week curriculum. It's online, and you can watch him teach you principles that you can work on at home with your mule. There's a great community that we're all plugged into. that we all connect and share our stories through a private Facebook group. We have monthly Zoom meetings. And then if you're really interested, he's a coach, and then also Michaela coaches. The coaching starts in January every year, and it's a year-long coaching program. I'm doing the coaching program, so if I'm struggling with something, I have a question, there's an app, I send Ty a little video through and show him what I'm dealing with, and then he responds and helps me work through a situation. So if you guys are interested in taking it to another level, I encourage you all to do that. I'm doing it, and I'll sign up for coaching again next year. Ty doesn't know. He's probably gonna be stuck with me for a while. Another year. I'm not going anywhere. But it never stops learning. It's really important for everybody to learn and be better and ask for more for our mules. So in our relationship. So anyway, thank you all for tuning into this episode of the Wild Uncut podcast. Thank you to our sponsors that make it possible. We got Ruger Marlin, we've got S Safari Club International, and On X Hunt. You guys want to save 20% on your elite membership, use code WILD20 during your checkout, and you can save some money. So thank you again, Ty, for joining me this morning.
Thanks, Kristy.
Everybody, appreciate your time.
It's been awesome.
When conditions get tough on a mountain hunt, your gear must be tougher. Making every opportunity count means selecting equipment that will not fail. Any condition, anywhere, Hornady Outfitter ammunition is designed to perform. Available in a wide range of cartridges from 243 to 375 Ruger. When you're looking for a hard-hitting, deep penetrating bullet and cartridge that performs in the most rugged environments, look no further than Hornady Outfitter ammunition. Thank you all for listening to the Wild and Uncut podcast. If you would like to hear more, be sure to not only watch, but subscribe to my Pursue the Wild digital series airing on Carbon TV and YouTube. And while you're at it, follow me at Kristy Titus on Facebook and Instagram.